I'm Dustin Cormier, and this is the How to Rock Astrology audio series. The information in this recording is copyrighted by Dustin Cormier, 2015, all rights reserved, except where noted in the recording. The following information on ascendant or rising signs comes from Stephen Arroyo's Chart Interpretation Handbook, copyrighted in 1989 by Stephen Arroyo, published by CRCS Publications in Sebastopol, California. I do not own the following content. Guidelines to interpreting the ascendant. Although the ascendant is of deep and pervasive importance for each individual, there is no denying that it must be related to the rest of the chart, and especially to the sun sign, in order to understand it thoroughly for a particular person. The sun, after all, is the core identity, the very center of the consciousness, the way we assimilate much of our experience, whereas the ascendant, although it varies in importance from person to person, is not as central to the person's nature. It shows, among other things, the approach to life, but the sun shows life itself. The ascendant must serve the purposes, values, and creative goals of the sun for the individual to function happily and fully. A useful tool for understanding how a person's ascendant and sun sign interact is to compare the elements of the two factors. For example, a Cancer sun sign person with a fire sign rising is usually far more extroverted, forcefully expressive, and confident than a Cancer sun individual with, say, a more conservative, self-protective earth sign rising. For another example, an air sign sun person with a water sign rising may appear much more emotional than he or she really is, whereas a water sign sun person with an air sign rising may appear far more detached and less emotional than he or she really is. It should be pointed out that people are often relatively unaware of their ascendant nature as compared to their sun sign. In that sense, the ascendant is a factor that can be consciously developed further over time and consciously utilized to aid one's self-expression. I've known people who are relieved to find what their rising signs were, since it finally gave them a way of identifying a very deep but only semi-conscious tendency in themselves. In some cases, the qualities and abilities symbolized by the ascendant were just beginning to emerge, and learning the astrological keys to this factor helped personal development greatly. I should emphasize here that perhaps more than with most other factors in the chart, the early environment can encourage or suppress the expression of the ascendant's energies, since it is a primary channel with which one interacts with the outer world. The reader should view the following comparative evaluations as guidelines and as questions to explore, rather than as rigid statements of absolute truth. Sagittarius Modality or Quadruplicity. The Sagittarius Modality is mutable, the flexible energy mode. There are exactly 4 of these flexible signs in the zodiac belonging to the mutable modality. These include Sagittarius, Pisces, Gemini, and Virgo, and they all share similar characteristics. All 4 of these signs exhibit more of an ability to lighten up and go with the flow than the other 8 signs of the zodiac. They're typically more light and lively, and more apt to entertain new ideas, even if they sometimes lack the concentration needed to always get to the bottom line. These flexible signs share the challenge to be more deliberate and focused, to be willing to slow down enough to avoid confusion or miss the point. The element of the ascendant. The element of the ascendant reveals the quality of energy flow directly vitalizing the physical body and the overall approach to life. Fire or air signs rising tend to conduct energy, encouraging active self-expression and dynamic expenditure of energy. Earth or water rising signs tend to conserve and resist the flow of vital energies, and hence indicate self-containment, sometimes self-repression, and the tendency of living within oneself. Fire signs rising, Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. Great vitality, physically energetic, beams energy outward into the world. Marked by a positive, optimistic outlook on life and a confident, bluntly honest demeanor. Active, wants to make a mark on life and see the results of one's efforts manifested in the world. Action orientation can lead to wasteful excesses and less awareness of the subtler needs of self and others. Sagittarius Ascendant or Sagittarius Rising. The optimism, buoyancy, enthusiasm, and broad-mindedness that are often, but not always, seen in Sagittarius Sun people are almost uniformly expressed by those who have a Sagittarius Ascendant. Virtually every Sagittarius Ascendant person I have ever seen could be described as perpetually upbeat, even in the face of continued disappointments or obstacles. Although the tendency toward forcefully preaching one's personal beliefs as universal truth is present in Sagittarius Ascendant as well as in Sagittarius Sun, the Ascendant expression of this tendency is usually more tolerant and inspiring, while the preaching of a Sagittarius Sun person is often experienced as being hit over the head with the truth. In other words, self-righteousness seems considerably more flagrant in those with Sun in Sagittarius. Also, Sagittarius Ascendant people almost never show the aimless, drifting discontent that is so often seen in those with Sagittarius Sun. Sagittarius Rising seems more inclined toward definite action in line with an ideal, whereas Sagittarius Sun is sometimes limited to mental or theoretical activity alone. The following information comes from Isabel Hickey's classic text, Astrology, A Cosmic Science, copyrighted in 1992 by Isabel M. Hickey Trust, published by CRCS Publications in Sebastopol, California.
I do not own the following content.
Sagittarius on the Ascendant. A breezy, outgoing, extroverted sign, but lacking in concentrative power. Has a love of horses and the out of doors. Many acquaintances, but few friends. Casual contracts rather than in-depth relationships. Superficial unless Jupiter is well placed by sign and house. Loves to travel and does travel extensively. Great restlessness. Loves to be on the move. Inclination toward philosophy and religion. Very talkative. Direct and to the point, but lacking in diplomacy. Executive type. Positive and masculine in expression. If in a feminine chart, lacks femininity and quietness. Tall in body as a rule, small shoulders and big hips like the centaur, its symbol. Puts on weight in middle years. The following information comes from The Secrets of Your Rising Sign by William Lamb with Webb Harris Jr., copyrighted by William Lamb in 2004, first published in the USA by Fairwinds Press in Gloucester, Massachusetts. I do not own the following content. Sweet and optimistic, happy-go-lucky Sagittarius is the winner of the zodiac. People with Sagittarius are hopeful dreamers with a forgiving "it's okay, we'll do it better next time" type of character. In youth, they're spontaneous and speak up like Dennis the Menace, saying the wrong things at the wrong time, but with such candor their parents usually find them more amusing than embarrassing. Sagittarius is the sign of foot in mouth, or speaking without thinking, an activity that can sometimes be offensive. Sagittarius children sometimes enjoy too much adoration from their elders, ending up being spoiled in childhood and arrogant as adults. They think themselves above things and ignore negativity as if it doesn't pertain to them, but their ultimately winning ways, forgiving nature, and hop, skip, and jump, 8-cylinder, full throttle, saddle up, we're out of here behavior easily earns them love and attention and adoration. Physical type: good posture, agility, a spring to the step. Favored colors: purple, royal blue, deep pink. The following information comes from Isabel Hickey's Astrology, A Cosmic Science, copyrighted in 1992 by Isabel M. Hickey Trust, published by CRCS Publications in Sebastopol, California. The significance of the Sun and the Sun sign in astrology. The symbol of the Sun in astrology is a circle with a dot in the middle. This is a very deep occult spiritual symbolism. The circle represents the eternal self that did not start here and does not finish here on earth. The dot in the middle represents the divine spark at the center of every living cell, the light which lighteth every man which cometh into the world. It is the point of light at the center of every living cell. In the blueprint, the sun represents the main expression of the individual, the heart and core of beingness. The sun has a different effect on individuals born at different times of the year. According to the sign and house in which the sun is placed, we are able to judge the general vitality and physique, the qualities of leadership, and the individual's ability to succeed in life. In a personal chart, the sun represents the basic drive for significance, the will, male relationships and female charts, especially with the father, vital energy coming from the etheric levels and prana, fuel on which the total personality operates, urge for power, constitutional strength, and finally, a powerful sun means very great power to do and to be. Keywords of the sun: will, individuality, spirit. The sun is the significator of the spirit in man, the beingness or isness of life. It rules the basic drive for significance, the will to be. Physically, the sun is the sustainer of life, giver of light, heat, and energy. More than anything else in the chart, it shows the will, man's highest expression. Its aspects show deep character traits, the chief ambitions. It needs aspects to the planets for strength of expression in the horoscope. As the sun moves through the signs, its return to the sign of its exaltation, Aries, the eastern horizon, marks the beginning of the astrological year. Springtime brings the release of a new cycle of life. As the sun moves through the houses, its return to the eastern horizon is the beginning of the astrological day, sunrise. The sun sign in its element. The following information comes from Stephen Arroyo's Chart Interpretation Handbook, copyrighted in 1989 by Stephen Arroyo, published by CRCS Publications in Sebastopol, California. I do not own the following content. The sun sign's element is usually dominant in considering the overall psychology of a person. This is so because the sun sign's element reveals the attunement of one's basic vitality, identity, and power of self-projection, as well as the fundamental quality of his or her consciousness. The element of one's sun sign reveals the basic inner force motivating everything we do. The element of the sun sign also gives insight into how any individual sees life itself and what expectations they have of the life experience. Sagittarius Sun. Sagittarius is a fire sign. These are the common characteristics of people born with the sun in fire signs. Basically motivated by inspirations and aspirations. Recharges energy through vigorous, physically demanding activity and by pursuing new visions for the future. Interpretive guidelines for the sun in Pisces. Creative energy is expressed sensitively and inspirationally. Needs to be recognized for compassionate, giving nature. Sense of individuality is not clearly focused due to empathy with lives and problems of others. Radiates a healing and compassionate spirit toward all that suffers. Vitality and self-expression are colored by soul yearnings, overwhelming vulnerability, and the state of the inner life. This final article comes from The Secrets of Your Rising Sign by William Lamb with Webb Harris, Jr., copyrighted by William Lamb in 2004, first published in the USA by Fair Winds Press in Gloucester, Massachusetts. I do not own the following content. Pisces born around midnight. Pisces with Sagittarius rising. If any sun sign / rising sign combination was born with a ticket to ride, it's Pisces with Sagittarius rising. An exuberant, happy-go-lucky Sagittarius personality brings Pisces out into the open and fuels the confidence of these wonderfully sharing and caring Florence Nightingale types. These people are kind-hearted, good listeners with winning ways. They have an "it's okay, we'll do better next time" attitude, and usually a bright-eyed, toothy smile. They're encouraging, forgiving, and totally tolerant of error. Continually earning trust with their obvious compassion, they're the masters of encouragement, whether they're giving a pat on the back to the little leaguer or having a brief but uplifting visit with a friend laid up in the hospital. These Pisceans are just downright inspiring, and they're very often in the right place at the right time. They've the gift of good timing. Seeing as Sagittarius is the sign of celebration, these people love a party like no other Pisceans. Some Pisceans hyperventilate at the thought of mixing and mingling, but Sagittarius rising might show up looking spectacular and expecting to be noticed. They'll even plunk out a few tunes on the piano. And if it's nighttime, Katie, bar the door. They love the nighttime. Pisceans born around midnight feel their God within from moment to moment, and it shows. With Sagittarius' winning ways and Pisces' whimsical nature, they're seldom offensive or unsuccessful. It's their kindness that gives them their good fortune, and if they know not to be arrogant and inconsiderate, they're truly the salt of the earth. But if anything can get them off track, it's the poison candy syndrome, being inspired about something that's obviously not good for them. If they've learned to keep it real and look at things objectively, all is well. But viewing the world through rose-colored glasses can create problems. Sure, their good fortune usually protects them from their most dire consequences, but still, they run the risk of letting more rewarding opportunities pass them by. This is especially true in their personal relationships. They allow people to perpetuate bad behavior by accepting "I'm sorry" for an apology rather than demanding improvement. They need to know that "I'm sorry" is not an apology. It usually means "I'm going to do it again." A genuine apology promises improvement. These Pisceans are better served by slowing down and being objective than almost anyone else in the zodiac. If they'll be honest with themselves about their hopes and aspirations and objectively ponder both sides of the issue, they'll always wind up in the winner's circle.